What is good? Could I get a vibe check? Let's go.
Is it going to sound manipulative and bad or whatever the hell? Women do this to dudes all the time. For some reason, it's only unacceptable for guys to have boundaries, but women do this to dudes day in, day out, constantly.
Yeah. So talk to me about a relationship. I hear from a lot of guys that say, I'm spoken to in a way. This girl is just disrespectful to me. What does guy do?
Okay, this is actually a good example. I had a friend ask me this exact question. He had a girlfriend who's been acting up. He's dating a girl, has been seeing her on and off for several years, and he sort of breaks up with her periodically. And then 3 months later, he'll text her, hey, babe, how you doing, whatever, and they'll get back together again. Like, why are you breaking up with her in the first place? He's like, oh, she'll get dramatic about this, dramatic about that, whatever. Like, taking her back again and again and again, you've taught her that she can act like a dickhead.
Yep.
And get taken back. Because she just has to wait a couple of months and you'll text her.
Facts. And sometimes in most cases, it'll even be a couple months. It'll be a couple days, maybe a week or two. And then you're hitting her back like, hey, let's get back together. Stop it. Stop it. All that's doing is reinforcing bad behavior. I'm gonna say it. All you're doing is reinforcing bad behavior. And it might trigger some people, but it is what it is. You have to have boundaries in place. Every healthy relationship has boundaries. Every relationship should have boundaries. And if those boundaries aren't respected, there needs to be consequences. Like everything in life, I don't understand how females are the only ones that go through life performing actions with no consequences or expecting no consequences. It's simply delusional.
Yep.
Just not giving your attention to bratty behavior can correct bratty behavior. It's what you do with kids.
So what does that mean? Does that mean ignore her? Does that mean tell her straight up, I don't like the way you're speaking to me?
Well, first step is, cut that shit out. Like, there has to be a boundary. If you don't have boundaries, you don't have a relationship.
That's what I was saying.
That's not a relationship. If there's no boundaries whatsoever between the way you interact with each other, then that ain't a relationship. Guys don't put down boundaries these days because they're afraid of looking like a misogynist or toxically masculine or whatever the hell.
Preach. Preach, my boy. It is frowned upon for us to exercise our boundaries. As soon as we start to exercise boundaries, as soon as we start saying what we want, what we expect, label, 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 and label. And it's not just that. We don't correct bad behavior because of a fear of repercussion. That being either labels, right? Or more valuable, Alright? Too many times we let shit slide because guys fear losing out on potential coaching.
Guys need to put boundaries down. Your father puts boundaries down as a child for a reason. Guide your behavior into a positive direction where it's harmonious, right? Same thing.
That's going to trigger a lot of people, though.
You should be telling your woman, because they're going to act up. Cool. They're going to test you. Like I said, okay, that's not acceptable, babe. Don't do that again. And if she does it again, you have to break it up. You have to be a man of your word and follow through. One of my girls recently, she did something I didn't like. I said, that's unacceptable. She tried to snark back with some bullshit. I said, that's a shame. We would have made a beautiful family together. And I ghosted it.
You ghosted?
And then, lo and behold, 3 days later, she texted me back, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, really? Now you want to talk again? Okay, fine. But she had to humble herself.
And I bet she won't do that shit again. I bet she won't do that shit again. Yeah. Yeah. That's even more prominent once you get to a certain level, a certain caliber of men. Yeah, they won't do that shit. Because they know any second they could get replaced. At any second, at any moment. Boom. Just like that. And that's the difference between a certain type of caliber of man, of men, and the other. This type of man, you could get away with it. Because they're going to simp for the coaching. Other type of caliber of men, they won't. Because you're very, very replaceable to them. You no longer hold the power of coach. You don't. Because they could get it from Come on. And that's when you lose all your leverage. It's a game of leverage.
That's the point. It's going to sound manipulative and bad or whatever the hell. Women do this to dudes all the time. For some reason, it's only unacceptable for guys to have boundaries, but women do this to dudes day in, day out constantly.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to put boundaries down and enforce those boundaries, take away attention from her when she's not acting correctly so she can learn, and she has to learn to humble herself.
Do you know how many people?
And before y'all guys get crazy, because I know some of y'all are triggered, this goes both ways. Females, guys, this goes both ways. Because if a dude's acting up, you gotta let him know. You gotta stomp that shit in the moment. Nip that shit in the bud, cut. Because if not, it's gonna become a cycle. A loop. So it goes both ways. Alright, chill. 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 Ah, I can hear y'all already.
People you triggered in the woke community. Just I was listening to this.
Hopefully,
I was like, I was going to start to make a
Am I preaching or am I preaching? Come on, no.
list, and it was getting too long. I was like, I can't. Just the number of people that between you comparing the husband to the dad, and then saying what the dad taught her when I was like, oh man, you could just blow up. You could, like, if there was like a woke club, they would all have just set themselves on fire listening to what you said. So I agree. I mean, if you're dating a girl and she's disrespectful, you got to straight up be like, I'm not going to tolerate that behavior soon in the beginning.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to have uncomfortable conversations.
Very,
with a
very
man.
soon.
This applies to everything, by the way, like in business and friendships, whatever, but in relationships too. Because most guys are like, if I say this, it might piss her off and then I don't get sex. Mm-hmm. That's really the thought that goes on in their head.
Because they use that as a power trip.
Because the guy doesn't have options. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm not necessarily saying go out and cheat on your girlfriend or whatever, fine. If you want to remain monogamous and loyal, good for you. Like, I hope you enjoy that. Part of the reason why I'm able to actually enforce boundaries in my relationships is because my girls know that I have options. Mm-hmm. They're like, he's probably just going to replace my ass if I act like a dickhead.
That gets trickier if you are in a situation where you are monogamous, you're married to someone. But I think
yeah, that's a different scenario.
Like
but even then, the foundation of a relationship is critical. Because shit like that, you can't wait till you're married to set those boundaries. No, you gotta set that shit in the early stage. When you first start dating. So once you make it up there and now you're married, then you don't have those core fundamental problems. So always set those boundaries early on in the relationship. Don't wait 2-3 years before you start exercising boundaries. It's too late for that.
Could act on that, but you could go out and there'd be a bunch of girls willing to be nice to you, and you had that option, even if you were married and she knew, that you were monogamous. You would just the idea that you're with a man that does have the ability to do that will set you straight real quick.
Yeah.
Sensational.